From the Presidential Palace of Koulouba, we bring you an exclusive conversation with the man at the center of a new African geopolitical reality, the President of the Transition of Mali and the current President of the Confederation of Sahel States. This is not just another interview. This is the voice behind a movement that is reshaping security, diplomacy, development, and sovereignty across Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. 1 year into the birth of the AES, the Sahel has changed. Battle lines have shifted, alliances have realigned, and a new African confidence has emerged. Tonight, you will hear directly from the leader who stood firm when Niger was threatened, who helped formalize a historic alliance, and who now leads a unified regional force unlike anything the Sahel has seen before. What has truly been achieved, what battles were fought behind closed doors, and what future is being built for the people of the Sahel. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear explains not only what the AES has become, but what Africa is becoming.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Presidential Palace of Koulouba, where we are received by the President of the Transition, President of the Confederation of Sahel States, for an exclusive interview as part of the second session of the College of Heads of State of the Confederation of Sahel States. Mali, which has thus led the first steps of the Confederation of Sahel States. What is the assessment? What has been achieved? And what are the prospects? The President of the Transition, President of the Confederation of Sahel States, will answer us in a moment. Good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening.
And to conduct this interview, I am joined by Fuseni Tonkara from the Presidential Communications team here at Koulouba. Good evening, Fuseni.
Good evening, Sirah. Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening.
So welcome to this set. Mr. President, 1 year of the AES presidency, it's a journey, it's a series of milestones. Tell us, what were the first actions taken during your presidency? What is your perspective?
Thank you, Sirah. And first of all, I would like to pay a well-deserved tribute to the sovereign people of the Confederation, that is the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, who very quickly understood the stakes of our struggle, which revolve around the vision of respecting our sovereignty and the interests of our peoples. So I really want to thank them, and above all ask them to always remain mobilized, committed, and to remember that the fight is not over.
Your Excellency, what was your ultimate objective in agreeing to lead the AIS for this very first year?
Before answering this question, I would first like to go back to the motivations behind the creation of the Confederation. When certain African countries decided to attack the country, brother of Niger, it was at that moment that we decided to offer our support in terms of brotherhood and especially military support to truly defend the integrity and sovereignty of the country, brother of Niger. It must be acknowledged that this threat of aggression was real, because one of the presidents of those African countries who had decided to attack Niger even called me to try to dissuade us from interfering in this situation. And at that time he asked me if everyone was in agreement. And I replied to him, if we are not in agreement and you try to attack Niger, you will see what happens next. So, after an hour of discussion, the president in question was really convinced, and he said he was the only barrier to be able to see a possible negotiation, but he said that the decision to attack Niger had already been approved. So, this is to show you just how real this threat was. Then he tried to explain to me that the situation in Niger was different from that in Mali and Burkina. In his words, if he let President Bazoum stay in power at that time, then who would be next? I simply replied, if we let you attack Niger, then it will be the turn for war next. So those were some heated arguments. In the end, I think he came to his senses when he saw that we were truly determined to defend Niger. So this is to tell you that the threat was real, and to really formalize our union, to give it a legal character. To legitimize our union to defend Niger, we unanimously and simultaneously decided to sign the Liptako-Gourma Charter to establish the Alliance of Sahel States. In this Liptako-Gourma Charter, its article calls for the establishment of collective defense and mutual assistance among the member states. Also, in its Article 4, it aims to combat terrorist armed groups in all their forms, cross-border crime, and above all, banditry. So, in its Article 6, which is the most important, it states that any attack on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a member state of the alliance will be considered an act of aggression, and it will require collective and mutual assistance from the other members of the alliance. So I think today this is a reality, and I believe this is what guarantees this confederation.
It started as a national defense pact, but today the AES stands for 3Ds: diplomacy, defense, and development. Today you have gone with this foundation. We are going to begin regarding the defense aspect, which is by no means insignificant within the confederation. Tell us, what are the significant advances that we can note today concerning this issue of defense? What has been done in terms of harmonizing and coordinating military actions then?
When you look closely at the LQM chair, its content is just a single pillar, the defense and security pillar. So, aware of the fact that today we cannot separate them. Defense cannot be separated from development issues, and as they say, without the rifle, the charm will never work. So also aware that without sustained diplomacy, these two pillars cannot thrive. This is why, during the Niamey Declaration, we decided instead to establish the Confederation in order to expand the defense pillar to include the other two pillars, namely defense, security, and development, and diplomacy. So to return to your question regarding defense and security issues, we will need to free ourselves from the formal establishment of the Confederation on July 6, 2024 in Niamey, and immediately the various ministers of defense and chiefs of general staff got to work. First, initially, officers of the Legion were deployed in the different countries to coordinate the various operations. Next, there is a phase of ramping up to ultimately achieve a truly unified and cohesive force, because when you carefully look at the comprehensive agenda of the Confederation, it becomes clear that Mali was specifically tasked with diligently working on the establishment and full implementation of this essential unified force. So there was then a comprehensive training phase with extensive tactical exercises meticulously held in Niamey, the capital city, as well as in various other significant Sahel states and regions. Togo and Chad also participated. So that was the beginning of the ramp-up phase. There was also the comprehensive training of essential staff officers, meticulously conducted by the esteemed Allo Blondimbe Medical School, located in Mali. Consequently, all these concerted and strategic actions collectively made it entirely possible to successfully build up a truly unified and cohesive force. Therefore, we diligently established the fundamental and comprehensive standards for this newly formed unified force. In a pragmatic and visible way, there have been major advances in terms of security. It's true that challenges still remain, always. Even when considering or looking at the principles of war, the first principle is freedom of action. Today, our countries have this freedom of action, of movement. Today, we are free to go wherever we want, to do whatever we want. So that was not possible at all in previous years. So, when you also look at the beginning of 2023, there were several joint operations against these armed terrorist groups, the most recent of which were Iriko 1 and Iriko 2. So these operations have indeed allowed us to neutralize several terrorist groups, and above all to disrupt them, which was not possible before. Through certain foreign countries or some powerful nations that had even put a bounty on the heads of these terrorist leaders in terms of reward. So today, we must acknowledge that the East has managed to change this dynamic, not only by neutralizing hundreds of terrorists, but also by destroying several terrorist sanctuaries. So today, this has allowed us to bring some peace to the area. When you also look at it in terms of strategic autonomy, our respective countries have suffered greatly and profoundly because we truly didn't possess that essential freedom, that crucial ability to easily and readily purchase necessary equipment, especially since its procurement was unfortunately outsourced to various other countries that consistently use this vital sector as a powerful tool to exert significant influence over us and our policies. But we must truly acknowledge that today, with genuine partners, we are now able to equip ourselves more easily. He led our operations both day and night, always maintaining the initiative. That means we can attack the enemy before they even launch hostilities. So all these factors were not all possible. But thank God today, it's true, the challenges remain. Because today, when you look at it, we are no longer in the traditional phase of fighting against terrorist armed groups. Now it's the geopolitical phase. The environment and the fact that the operating methods of these armed groups, including the Russians, are changing constantly throughout the day. And that means there is a whole arsenal behind them developing the strategy, which directs the targets according to their geopolitical stakes. Some dissatisfied partners who have now been driven out of our territories, and some so-called benefactors who have also been expelled from our lands. It's a matter of survival, because not only have they lost their position in terms of geopolitics, in terms of influence, they have also lost resources, which means they will never leave us in peace, and inevitably they will try to create problems for us. But overall, I truly think that today the entire IS Confederation has scored many significant points in terms of its defense and security. Not only do we currently possess the significant freedom of action, but we also hold the strategic initiative. And today, the unified force is already fully operational and prepared, and it will very soon take over all necessary responsibilities. We are going to take over, meaning that since 2023, these operations were already underway, but it was necessary to establish a simpler, more suitable organization so that the various ministers of defense and the heads of member states could get some rest. So this initiated force is the new dynamic to continue the fight against the Brussels-based terrorism.
You hear that, Mr. President? We are reassured that the AIS strategy will adapt to the realities on the ground.
Exactly, it's military in reality. The enemy, it's a game of hide and seek. The enemy will inevitably analyze everything we are planning. We will change our mode of operation depending on the stakes or the objectives to be achieved. Just as we will also be able to develop operational methods to counter them. But that's the nature of warfare. It's a war in the field. We must prepare to develop even more strategies and above all to anticipate. The real issue is anticipation. If we manage to anticipate, we will be able to neutralize them in time, and the losses will shift to the other side. But if, however, these armed groups take the initiative, not only will it disrupt our system, but it will also cause more losses among our population. So I am reassured that our people were not used to certain tensions, and no one thought that today people would go so far as to attack tankers. People never imagined that this could happen because the targets that were chosen were either military objectives. But today, given the fact that they are losing momentum and that indeed these groups are really being harassed, the situation has changed. So inevitably, they will want to target the weakest link and the population that holds strategic resources. So I think there is reason to be hopeful.
Excellencies, you spoke earlier about partnership, and today it's truly obvious the Confederation of the States of the Sky has strengthened its military cooperation. Tell us a bit about this cooperation.
So regarding the extensive military cooperation of the sovereign states of the sky with certain truly sincere and valued partners such as the powerful Russian Federation, the Republic of Turkey, and the People's Republic of China, we observe significant collaborative efforts. This is a fundamental reality. These are truly pragmatic and essential cooperations firmly based on genuine sincerity and above all else, proven effectiveness. In a partnership, the most important thing, first of all, is mutual respect. The way each party looks at the other, the way everyone is treated, and the way each tries to protect their own interests. So I think that the most important thing today with these three states, there are other partners, but the most strategic are these three states I just mentioned. Truly, these countries, we have to acknowledge, really helped us during difficult times. At times when some countries abandoned us, there were also always efforts to destabilize us. When we asked for support from these countries, indeed they helped us. They helped us. When you look today, some partners have provided us with public equipment. As I said earlier, even having money was not at all obvious. It was not at all obvious. Today, thankfully, we have managed to acquire this equipment. When you look at it, acquiring equipment often takes years. It's years of planning, often 2 or 3 years. But in an emergency, as soon as we spoke to these presidents, they quickly gave instructions to their governments so that we could really gain access. The equipment that is currently coming to Mali, it was not an easy thing. But when I spoke with President Xi Jinping, he recognized the urgency and that we are at war. And in front of everyone, he also gave top priority to Mali. And he personally ensures that his instructions are followed. I am very eager for this decision to be implemented. I thank you today for making this a reality. People can see the equipment arriving. This shows you that it is genuine, that it is a pragmatic partnership. With these different partnerships, we have managed to bring about change. The situation in the Sahel has changed in terms of the fight against armed terrorist groups and in terms of reorganizing our armies.
So this allows us to bring up the issue of diplomacy, which is no less important, Mr. President. Today, states assert themselves through diplomacy. We have observed that the AES speaks with one voice. This is very important for the Sahel states to be able to make themselves heard internationally. Tell us, how do you achieve harmonization at this level? How do you manage to align your viewpoints and speak with one voice?
Indeed, you are right. When the Confederation was established, some people did not take us seriously. But there was also an effort to divide us, to distract us. So we had to understand this strategy and also be able to counter it. In short, we quickly understood and prepared ourselves. Because the dynamic that was in place was to ensure that the East could not exist. You'll see, even when it came to invitations to participate in certain conferences or meetings, they would invite people individually. So we tried to put an end to that. If the three states are invited by an organization or by a country, we requested that it be under the banner of the Confederation. So that was the first step. Harmonizing our vision and our positions at the level of international and sub-regional bodies during votes, or if certain countries request our support, it is done within the framework of the AS. So we consult, we support, and then we validate. So this really allowed us to be able to assert ourselves on the international stage and achieve the ultimate goal with the Confederation. It's not only about making the Confederation operational, but above all ensuring that this organization becomes an essential partner, not only at the sub-regional level, but also internationally. I think that as of today, the ESF has become irreversible, and it is a reliable and indispensable partner. So really, the challenge, diplomacy has played its role, and we will continue to further strengthen these achievements.
Establishing oneself on the international stage is not an easy task. So how does the ESF do it? How does it respond to external criticism?
You know, there is no such thing as friendship. It's a war of interests, a conflict of positioning. Everything is often tied to the issue of resources. So it's a country that in the past easily took over our resources and still tries to keep us in miserable conditions. The dynamic has changed with the AIS authorities. Because today, we are committed to defending our sovereignty, to defending the interests of our people. These interests are inevitably now tied to strategic resources, everything related to gold, everything related to electronics, everything related to gas, everything related to uranium. With this change in dynamic, we asked for a win-win partnership, but those who always saw us as miserable countries, they quickly realized that they are the ones who are miserable and poor. So it's fair game. I don't blame them for it. If they defend their interests, as every country should defend its own interests. But they won't give up. We shouldn't kid ourselves. They will always try to create problems for us. The narratives not only to tarnish our reputations, as we say, it's a war of influence and manipulation. These are geopolitical issues. When you look at influence right now, there is no soft power, hard power. That is to say, they can influence you in a gentle way, either through everything related to education, everything related to culture. They can also undermine your reputation, as is happening now with criticism, disinformation campaigns, and media attacks. That's one way to influence and manipulate. But there's also the other way, which is hard power. You see, there is a power right now in its national security policy. Nationally, it has planned to attack in order to defend its interests. So if they have interests in your country and things don't go their way, they are capable of attacking you. This is to show you that When it comes to defending interests, there are no hard feelings. So it's critical. We need to understand this and not just face it. The most important thing is our people. It's our people today who support us. They are our reason for living. They are the reason we defend all these questions of sovereignty. We must not be afraid of these criticisms. The most important thing is always the mindset. It's always about the mindset, because this is a psychological war. Your perception cannot be a reality for me. That's how it needs to be understood. When you think I'm not good, it doesn't concern you. That's just your way of speaking. But for me, it's a different reality. We need to understand that it's about perception. That's just their way of speaking. These perceptions cannot become realities for us. So the least they will keep sticking to us, narratives playing on human rights issues, to try to create problems at the level of international bodies. We need to understand that they won't let go. All those who have accepted their dictates, they have such a well-designed system that even if someone is dirty, as soon as they accept you, they clean you up, put perfume on you, and say you're good. That's the kind of person you should associate with. So it's a double standard policy. So the most important thing is that because they defend their own interests, they're capable of anything. So it's up to us to understand that this is a matter of war, of interests, a matter of geopolitical and geostrategic alignment. And it's also a defense for us. Today, AS is a new essential geopolitical dynamic. With all these strategic resources we have, uranium, lithium, gold, we can do a lot of things. So,
Mr. President, as you said, it's a matter of geopolitics. There are partnerships that are still considered useful today and win-win, such as with Russia or the Russian Federation or even Turkey. Tell us, at what stage are you today regarding these partnerships? At what level has the AES positioned itself? Well,
with some countries, you have to understand that. Well, when we look at Russia, we have partners on two levels. There are two levels of partners. Partners in terms of security and also partners in terms of the economy and development. So both levels exist with Russia. In fact, we have several levels with Russia. With Turkey, that's also the case. There are partners in the areas of defense and security, as well as in trade and so on. It's all part of development efforts. With China, it's more in the context of development issues. As for security matters, it's really just about purchasing equipment. So today we are facing these challenges. There are different levels of partnership, sometimes in terms of security, sometimes in terms of the economy, and also in terms of development. When you look at Russia or China, we have projects. For example, with Russia, there is the construction of the refinery that is underway. There is also the construction of the St. Nagroba solar power plant that is in progress. And then there are other dam construction projects as well. So with China as well, you have the Safo power plant, Safo 1, Safo 2. We also currently have another solar power plant construction project underway in Koulikoro. So all these projects really allow us today to cooperate and further strengthen our partnerships with these countries. These are win-win situations. We are against no one, the IS is against no one, but we defend our interests just as any sovereign country or any sovereign organization must defend its own interests. So this partnership is evolving according to our interests.
all right, and this allows us to introduce the development aspect, which is significant. Everything you just mentioned, all of that contributes to development. Tell us, what are the economic achievements today that we can note under your presidency of the AES?
Within the framework of development issues, first, there is the matter of the roadmap. It was first requested to create the Development and Investment Bank. So today, I believe that this bank is now a reality. It has already been established and the board of directors has already been put in place. Its members have been appointed. So it has a capital of 500 billion. This bank will allow us to finance Confederation projects, not only in the field of infrastructure, but also in energy, education, and transportation. But that's not all. Do you see? We have decided to transform the Integrated Development Authority of Electoral Government, ALG, into an implementing agency for the Confederation Program project. So this transformation is already underway. A provisional administration has been put in place for 6 months, and there is also a goal, which is currently there is a committee of experts at work for the Confederation's program project. So this transformation is already underway. We have set up a provisional administration for 6 months. There is also an objective which is in progress. An expert committee has been working on the transformation of this implementing agency. I think the process should be finalized by the end of 2025. The first operations are expected to begin in 2026. Among all these significant achievements, the comprehensive transformation of the authority and the integrated successful development of the innovative Helicopter Gourmand initiative, we also decisively decided on the confederal levy, specifically the PCIS, which was previously, when we formally broke away from CEDAW, we also completely and entirely transferred this confederal levy. There is a relatively small but important 0.5% levy that is applied to all imported goods. So this amount, which is kept in a special account, will also, in addition to the bank, not only finance our projects, but also this significant amount can substantially strengthen the financial stability of the bank. So this is to formally let you know that this crucial mechanism is already firmly in place and operational. So within the framework of integration, for our populations, there were a number of actions that were required in the roadmap to enable the free movement of people. This allowed us to implement the AIS biometric ID card, the AIS biometric passports. So right away we also moved forward. It was important from the very beginning to make a strong impression on our constituents and especially internationally regarding the creation of the Confederation. And that necessarily involved establishing symbols, these symbols that affirm our commitment and our belonging to the organization. And it was at that moment that we not only created the AIS flag, which was officially launched on March 3rd, we also created the AIS anthem, which was launched in June 2025. So all these actions allowed me to establish, to provide foundations, a base, a solid foundation for the Confederation. Now the foundation is in place. The next step will be to continue building the house. So there have been many major actions that have truly been accomplished.
Now let's talk about some more specific aspects. What initiatives have been taken to strengthen shared infrastructure? I'll talk about roads, energy, trade, transportation, allies, among others.
As part of development in terms of infrastructure, energy, and transportation, we requested sectoral meetings to harmonize procedures across the different departments. Then a number of projects will be validated by the heads of state. These projects will be financed either by the bank or by the confederal government. These projects will be carried out by the Confederation's executing agency, which is currently being transformed from the authority and the integrated development of the state for the greedy one. There are several projects, but some projects are still pending so far. Perhaps the establishment of the new airline will be taken into account during the second term. There is also the establishment of the Bamako-Wakaranyami Railway. So there are several actions, several projects that are still pending. So we have laid down the foundations, the solid basis. Now I think that for the second term, we will be more focused on the development project. As for everything related to security, we have done it. There is the unified force which is already in place. We have turned the AIS area into a unified theater, a single theater. This means that any violation of the territory, whether it is Burkina, Mali, or Niger, will become a violation of the Confederation. May God protect us from that. And all the countries with intelligence services worthy of the name know just how well equipped the Confederation is. The means of defense we have at our disposal, I think that in addition to fighting the Zagni terrorist group, now give us the ability to engage in high-intensity warfare. But this cannot happen unless it is supported by development initiatives, because it is through these development issues that we will acquire the resources we need, military equipment. So it must be acknowledged that during the second term, we will certainly focus on making a greater impact in terms of project implementation, because the population only sees the achievements, especially the projects that contribute to their well-being.
Mr. President, the communication aspect is also a very important one. To be able to assert oneself today, it is necessary to provide accurate information. The AES is moving in this direction. What can we note today as achievements under the Malian presidency of the AES in terms of communication?
Thank you. As a crucial part of the overall communication aspect, specifically for the Rudela Festival, it was carefully planned to set up a comprehensive communication system. Firstly, there was supposed to be the creation of AES TV, which the nation of Mali was tasked with, the creation of AES Radio in Burkina Faso, and the establishment of the print press in Niger. So these three states were to have these different setups, but each country would have its own branch. For example, the headquarters of the TV station will be in Bamako. There will be branches in Burkina Faso and Niger, and vice versa. The goal of these initiatives is not only to provide accurate information to our people, but also to counteract this disinformation campaign aimed not only at terrorizing our populations, but above all at destabilizing our states. I believe that today AES TV is a reality. The radio station in Burkina Faso is practically finished. The director of the TV station has been appointed, along with the coordinator and some other members. I think they will quickly get to work to help us not only properly inform our people, but above all to counter these media disruptions, which are backed by state sponsors.
Mr. President, regarding the communication aspect, the Web TV has also been created.
Indeed, the Web TV, the digital platform, was actually the first initiative put in place to support the communication efforts. Also, a network of AIS communication has been set up to facilitate communication in different countries, and the free roaming system. So everything has been put in place. A system that is already operational and will allow us not only to provide accurate information and to facilitate communication within the AIS area.
Mr. President, we will conclude with this question. This is the message to the people of the AES that is so important today. When the President of the Confederation speaks, the people are naturally interested. What is this message today in terms of perspective? What can the people of the AES expect in the days and years to come? So,
the people of the East should expect a continued transformation of the Confederation in a positive way. The issues are well known, everything related to action, everything concerning the security sector. Indeed, people have seen there are impacts, there are positive impacts, there is admiration. It's true that some challenges remain, but in the area of development, that's where the countries really need to focus. So I think that the projects currently underway, these initiatives which are currently being diligently implemented, and other crucial projects that will be carefully planned and strategically developed in the near future will undoubtedly help to comprehensively meet the legitimate and pressing demands of our esteemed people in terms of vital infrastructure development, comprehensive educational opportunities, reliable energy provision, sustainable agricultural growth, and robust entrepreneurial endeavors. So it's in all these areas that we will truly need to achieve results for the people. It's true that we feel the support of the people during difficult times. That's why we have always praised the resilience of our people. But this is where we need to work and move very quickly with the implementation of these projects to give visibility to our actions. But we also always ask the population to remain determined, because these are just causes. These people know our intentions. They will always inevitably try to counter our actions. So the people are our reason for being. We defend the ideals carried by our people, the ideals of Pan-Africanism, the ideals of respect for our sovereignty, and above all, the defense of the interests of our populations. Because if you see us here today, we are the ones carrying out the work. We are implementing the popular will of our various states is moving in the right direction. So once again, I truly want to pay tribute and thank everyone for all the support we received during the first term, but also to encourage you to continue, because this is a person-to-person struggle. And as we say in the army, often there is attrition, there is wear and tear, there is fatigue, there is discouragement, because all these mechanisms are being put in place through our adversaries, aiming to demoralize our people, aiming to destabilize our countries. There will inevitably be impacts on certain citizens, perhaps those who do not have a steady mind and who may become unbalanced. And this can often create problems of understanding or support. But we must understand that today the East has become an irreversible reality, and we have taken a path of no return. And we have brought our people along with us, and we will go all the way to our destination. It's like when you fire a gun. As soon as the cartridge leaves the barrel, it goes all the way to its destination. There is no turning back. That is why we are once again calling for everyone to remobilize, to arm themselves morally, and to continue the fight until the AIS area is pacified, and also until the vital needs of our people are met. Thank you.
We sincerely hope so. Thank you, Mr. President, for answering our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fusini, for your support. Thank you, Sirah.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
So, dear viewers, we have now reached the end of this exclusive interview granted to us by the President of the Transition, President of the Confederation of Sahel States. We hope you found it interesting to follow us, and we wish you wonderful moments of television in our company. Good evening.
What you've just heard is not just an interview, it's a message of unity, sovereignty, and direction for the Sahel. The AES is no longer a vision. It is a reality shaping the future of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to keep this important conversation moving forward.